2024 started off kind of slow for me music wise. I didn't really find myself getting too much into any new music that came out within the first few months of the year. But by the end of the year, I ended up having a hard time kind of narrowing down my list for the my favorite albums of the year. So just kind of had a delayed start for me this year. I wasn't too optimistic about it as like some of the releases that were coming out that I was anticipating weren't really like matching up at the time, and so it was just a slow start. But it ended up being a really good year for music, and a lot of my favorite artists like of all time released albums this year, and I'm pretty excited to go ahead and go into my list for this year. Ended up being just a better year all around all around. So it's just a much better year than last year, and just really more of a positive year for me, and I'm excited to go through this list here, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. Number 24, Deterioration, Paranoia, and Violence. This is a kind of a grindcore band, brutal band from, I think they're from Minnesota or somewhere up there, up north in the United States. And this is just like a little fun, short little record here. Just like fast, brutal, just like these kind of fun hilarious samples mixed in with the sound. And I just been really like got into this sound earlier in the year, and it's just like one that kind of stands out to me and is really cool and fun. Number 23, Richie, Triple Digits 112. This is a hip hop artist that was part of the hip hop collective called Injury Reserve, now defunct since their one of their members passed away a few years ago. They released their final album, By the Time We Get to Phoenix, in 2021, which is still one of my favorite hip hop albums I've ever heard in my life. Such a unique sounding album. But Richie, this is his first kind of solo project here since Injury Reserve, and it's just a fun little hip hop album. A little rough around the edges, but I think that adds character to it, and I like it quite a lot. Just kind of fun, just kind of abstract and kind of cloud rap mixed up in here, and just a solid one that I was listening to earlier this year a lot. 22, Mannequin Pussy, I've Got Heaven. This is a kind of hardcore punk, kind of indie-ish band that I actually found out about years ago when they opened for the band Japanese Breakfast. That's all in 2021. And I really liked their performance, thought it was fun, and ended up seeing them the next year as well and live. And I hadn't really like gotten too into their music, just like their studio stuff. I didn't find myself listening to it, but I gave this album a shot this year, and I actually really liked it. Like especially the indie songs on it. They're just like great, just straight up kind of indie songs. I just think they did them so well. They're just like catchy, and just like I like the sound of them. Just a great little solid little project. 21. Idols, Tank. Idols is actually one of my favorite modern bands, punk bands, indie-ish. I don't really call them. I guess they have some indie influence. I mean, indie's influenced by punk music, but kind of, I guess you can consider them post-punk as well. Different kind of styles of post-punk, and this is more of an art punk album, and I really like a lot of their older stuff. Their first album is probably my favorite, Brutalism, and I go back to that one quite often, more than any other ones. But they've been kind of changing their sound a little bit more in the past two albums. Crawler that came out in 2021, and now this one, Tang, came out this year, and I'm liking the style change. It's not my favorite of theirs, but I'm still interested to see what they have in the future. This ended up being a pretty solid album. 20, Noel, As Spoken. This is a experimental kind of black and grindcore band from Tennessee. They came onto my radar a few years ago when I started listening to their album called Metampiric that came out in 2022, and that album is just sick. I just really love just like the brutality of it. It's just, and the vocals are just like really insane and wild, and I just really got hooked on them. And then I ended up seeing them in early 2023 in Asheville, North Carolina, and that was one of my favorite shows. And I got to meet the lead guy, His name is Jamie or James. I don't forget what he goes by, but he was just a really awesome, solid, all around guy, and I enjoyed talking with him, and he was just like so like um, he was so just appreciative of me like taking the drive down there just to go see them, and he just seemed like a really cool guy, and it's interesting just like seeing how like friendly he is, and when he's talking to you, and then goes on stage and just has like this whole and like intense persona and stuff. But um, as spoken is a pretty solid album. Not my favorite of theirs so far, but it's still up there, and they keep expanding the length of their albums. This one's got over 40 minutes long, but definitely one I still put on quite often. Is just a cool, just brutal grindcore album, and funeral grind as they like to call themselves. 19, Molchat Doma, Malaya Pelosa. This is a great synth pop band, modern synth pop band. They've experimented with a lot of different sounds within synth pop over their career going right now. I think their first album came out in 2017. That happens to be my favorite by theirs. I just like the raw kind of lo-fi production on that one. But this one was really fun too. I've found myself going back to it quite a lot this year since it came out. Um, and it was one I was anticipating coming out as well. I wasn't too excited about it, I guess, but then when I actually started listening to it, gave it a shot. I actually really liked it. I didn't really like the singles from it that much, but it ended up being a great album, and happy that I ended up liking it. 18, Floating Points, Cascade. I've talked about this album quite a few times. I've gone back to it a bit since it came out, and I was actually anticipating it quite a lot when I first heard about it. It came out a few months ago, and it's a great just ambient techno album, and I just really like that sound. It's really clean production and just sounds really great, and I like turning it on. I like the album artwork, and yeah, it's just a solid one to turn on when I'm just kind of chilling or doing something. 17, Nails, Every Bridge Burning. Nails is a really solid power violence, grindcore, death metal, whatever, mixing those sounds in with their music, and they're just so brutal and fast. And like this album is only like 17 minutes long or something like that, and but I always had a soft spot for their first album, which is Unsilent Death, and their first two albums really they're just really solid. Don't love the vocals that they changed up so much over the years. I don't really love the vocals too much on this project, but it's still pretty solid, and it's still just like as fast and brutal and crushing as the other ones have been. And didn't find myself coming back to it too much. I was listening to it a good amount when it came out, and I still like it, but I just really love the early stuff so much more. But it's still definitely worthy putting on this list just because they're just like fairly unique in a way, I guess I'd say, and they were just like a big band for me to get into more like intense stuff like that when I first discovered them. 16, JPEG Mafia, Lay Down My Life for You. JPEG Mafia is one of my favorite artists. If you follow this channel, he's one of my favorite modern artists, and I really love following his stuff. Though that's why it's kind of interesting that this would be so low on my list, but people probably wouldn't think it would be so low. But it's just one of my least favorites of his work that he's released so far. To be honest, I just really loved a certain era on it, a certain era of his music, and I'm a big fan of metal music and such, and he mixed that in on this, which I thought was interesting and cool. And he had like a unique style of how he put that in on this album. But it's just like the sounds just don't click with me as much, I guess, and I just really liked the kind of his like middle era stuff that he did better and through LP, and that's just always going to be a sweet spot for me, I guess. But I'm still really excited to see what he keeps expanding in the future. He's just such a versatile artist, and just like has such a very unique sound and persona, and I just still really love him a lot. 15, Porter Robinson, Smile. This is one that I'd heard of Porter Robinson in the past, and I listened to some of his last album called Nurture that came out in 2021, I believe. It's interesting that a lot of people's like for last full-length albums came out in 2021, and they released them in 2024 again. But yeah, I really liked this one. It's just kind of like this kind of like indie tronica, pop style, kind of like EDM sounds mixed in with it as well. That's kind of what you started out as, but I ended up really liking this album, and just it just like there's a lot of sounds on it that like make me feel good and just like remind me of certain times in my life, like the 2010s kind of electronic indie music, and just like the kind of the pop anthems that came out during that time that I was overhearing, like when I was out doing things in the warm months, like the theme parks and stuff. So it just like brings good memories up in me. And song "Rushing Your Light" is actually kind of a fairly emotional song, and I actually really like that song. It's one of my favorite songs of the year, I'd probably say. And yeah, I just really liked, I just like every song on this album. It's really just catchy and fun, and it can be emotional at times. And I just really like it, and just really like the sounds, and it's just a great all around project. 14, Hecaton Chair, Nightmare Utopia. This was like the first like kind of like metal album or extreme metal album that actually caught my ear this year. I was really struggling. I wasn't really liking any metal music that was really being released. Nothing was like, everything was just like fine, like it's okay, like just like everything sounded like fairly the same. And this has a lot of like this stuff that I'm familiar with, like the sounds of like more modern like death metal and black metal and stuff. But um, I just really like this one. It's just like it's fairly short. It's like a little over 30 minutes long. But it just has like a great, just like it just the sounds are just there's a good mix of sounds on it. It can be very like the first track is very atmospheric, kind of black metalish sounding. And then it goes down and it's like more of all around kind of like a dissonant death metal album. And it just really caught my ear, and I've just gone back to it all like ever since it came out throughout the year. And I really like the vocals on it, and just like the instrumentation is really good. It's just like a lot of just like the like when it comes to modern black and death metal, just all the sounds that are on this are just you just like mix them together so well on this album, and I really enjoy it. 13, Chat Pile, Cool World. Uh, I really liked their last album, God's Country, when that came out, and I believe that was 2022 that one came out. And I wasn't. It kind of like went down on me. I didn't really like. It's not one that's like really stuck with me going back to a lot and a lot. But I was fairly familiar with it. I was listening to it a lot, but so I wasn't like too optimistic about this album. I wasn't too like excited about it. But then when I started listening to it, I just like really I really liked it. And it just like brought me back. It's definitely kind of a continuation of what they did on their last album. But I actually prefer this album over that album, and I just really like the sound on this one. And just a lot of the songs are just so good, and it's just like can be so crushing, and there's just a lot of cool things mixed in on this album that is a little bit different than their last album. But a really cool band, a really unique band. Actually got a little bit of traction in the underground over the past few years, and I think it's well deserved. 12, Frail Body, Artificial Bouquet. This is an album I listened to a lot this year, like over and over again. After I discovered it, probably on like I think it came out at like the end of March or something. So kind of was getting to that spring and summertime, and this album accompanied me sunbathing a lot this year. I always had my sunbathing albums. They're usually kind of like atmospheric, kind of ish sounding, and this is just a really just great screamo album. They're just like a straight up screamo album, but I think really has a lot of black gaze influence in with it too. It definitely comes off as some black gazy sounds in here as well. It kind of creates that atmosphere that I was kind of talking about. And I never, I feel like I had maybe heard of Frail Body before, but this album just like really stuck with me. And I really liked the album artwork on it, and just the sound they created. I was listening to it over and over again, just like I would. When I first got into it, I was kind of working on a painting project at work, and I just kind of just had it on rotation. I just loved like cycling it. I was just really hooked on it. I really like the sound of it, and it's really crushing and just awesome screamo, and it's really solid. If you like this stuff, definitely check it out. 11, Topographies, Interior Spring. I found this album really early this year. I think it came out in January actually, and I've heard like nobody talking about this album, and I really think it deserves some more attention because it's just like a great, just kind of post-punk album, and I just really enjoy it. It's just like it's just the sounds. There's so many great just like synth pop sounds and just post punk, just all around that. Just like the sounds. I just love the sounds that come out of that kind of style of music. That within that little spectrum of kind of like gothy stuff. And I really like the album artwork on this one as well. And just like it's just one that I've come back to and just one I listened to a lot, especially earlier this year. And I would definitely recommend it to anybody who's kind of into like post punky kind of stuff. Number 10, Denzel Curry, King to the Mischievous South, Volume 2. Um, this one is kind of like instantly kind of pulled me in. And I'm a huge fan of the Memphis hip hop style. And I love how Denzel, it just goes with Denzel so well, just like his attitude and stuff with the more kind of hardcore hip hop sounds. And he just did a really good job of like mixing that Memphis, like 90s Memphis sound with like a more modern hip hop approach to it. And it's so solid all around. I mean, you got like the samples, you got all the people on it, man. He's got Kingpin with like all the skits and stuff, and then he's um, got Project Pat on here, and it's just exciting. It has so many great people from that scene that are still living and featured on the album, and I'm just a sucker for that style of hip hop. It's one of my favorites, and just like I just it just like I said suits Denzel so well, and this is my favorite album of his so far, and I really just have been enjoying it and excited to keep enjoying it. 9. Candelabrum, Transmutations. This is a black metal artist from Portugal that I found out about in 2022 when they released their album Nocturnal Trance that I really liked a lot. It's a great, just kind of like ambient black metal project. Their last two albums, especially, are very ambient black metal, like ambient mixed with raw black metal, and this has such a great sound and just like it's just such a great black metal sound to it. And this album got even more like into just like heavy on the ambience and even mixed some like post-punk layers in with it as well. And it's really just like one of the most unique black metal albums of the last like and while. And that's kind of what I look for with a lot of metal music. I love a lot of different types of metal music and modern metal music, but I'm just really kind of looking for somebody to be doing something different, not just doing the same thing over again. And this is definitely one of the most unique albums I've heard in quite a while. So 8, The Cure, Songs of a Lost World. Man, wasn't like I was definitely excited for a new Cure album. I love The Cure. I've been a big fan of The Cure for quite a long time, and just love their sounds. But it being just like so late in their career, you just don't really like think that somebody might drop something that's really good again. But this album is actually very good and is very comparable to their 80s albums, I would say. It's like the sister to Disintegration. And sure, people were saying that they have like just kind of going off of this same kind of Disintegration sound, not experimenting with something new, but I don't care at all. I mean, I just like such being such a Cure fan. I think this is just like an album for Cure fans, and as it should be. And the Cure wanted to do what they wanted to do for this project, and it really just amazes me just like how like Robert Smith's vocals sound exactly the same as they did in the 80s, and it's like one of the best like comeback albums I think I've ever heard. Like I usually don't look out for like albums for people that haven't released albums in what has it been like 13 years at least, that they released their last album, and it's just really good. I think I said it started growing on me a little bit when I didn't listen to the singles. I just like I'm not a big like singles person, I guess, most of the time. I just like to listen to the album and experience the album for the first time when it comes out. But I remember seeing the album artwork for the album. I was like, okay, like yeah, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge an album by its cover. But album artwork is a big thing for me, and it kind of like okay, I'm looking forward to this a little bit more. I think might end up liking it, and then I ended up really liking it. I really like the sounds on it, and it's such a great Cure album, and it's just excited that it came out and came out as good as it did. 7, Kim Gordon, The Collective. Um, I was really I was a big fan of Sonic Youth for quite a while, and I still like their music. But I just don't go back to it as much as I used to. But I was like really obsessed with them at one point when I was getting into their music, and I was pretty excited to see that Kim Gordon was releasing a solo album. And I didn't really listen to any of her other solo stuff that she's released, but this one just kind of caught my ear. It's just like this industrial kind of trap album, and just thought it was really interesting sounding, and just like every song just like has like these beats and sounds I just love so much. She just did so well with it, with her just like traditional vocals. Another thing with like what I said on the last one, like with Robert Smith's vocals sounding the same on the Cure album, Kim Gordon's vocals still sound very similar as they did back in the day, and she's got her own unique style and vocal style, and I just really like this album. It's just really solid, and it's fun and funny, and just like the beats are just sick. I just love the industrial sounds and experimental stuff that she's always kind of been a part of, and um, I think she even like went somewhat viral on TikTok. I'm not a TikTok person, but I know like her song Bye Bye, like her talking about like packing all this stuff, and but it's just like the beats are just solid, man, and I just really love the album. There's a great air to it, and just like really wowed me this year. 6, Bedsore, Dreaming the Strife for. This is one that actually just kind of caught my ear like in the past month, and I usually don't like stuff like this. Um, and a lot of people have been talking about the new Blood Incantation album, and I think this is like very comparable to that album to an extent, but I just think these guys just did it so much better and so much more interesting to me, and they just mix like this. It sounds like a 70s prog album mixed with just like black metal instrument, there's a little bit of black metal instrumentation and vocals, and it's just really just interesting. And it just like I was really surprised that it kept pulling me back in, because I usually, like I said, I usually don't like stuff like this, but there's just like heavy emphasis on like synthesizers and like the organ sounds, and I just think they put it together so well, and it just like all flows so well together, and just like really keeps me entranced. And it's just like probably one of the most interesting metal albums of the year, I'd have to say. And it just I'm just excited about it, I guess. I just like it's like interesting to me that I liked it so much, and this really stands out to me, and I feel like more people need to be paying attention to this one, since so many people are loving the Blood Incantation album. I think anybody that likes that album should really definitely check this one out. So I just think they blow it out of the park on this one. 5, More Mother, The Great Bailout. More Mother is an artist that I kind of just got turned on to this year, after I got into Billy Woods very heavily, and they like to work with each other a lot. They actually released an album back in 2020 called Brass, that they collaborated and did together, and I really like fell in love with the album this year, and turned me more on to More Mother, and I saw that she released this full-length album this year, and she's just like really interesting artist. I really like her vocals, and I like her subject matter, and her poetry, and she's just like an artist. I'd say she's like very like I just like see her stuff being like shown or like played like in a museum or something, and I love the album artwork on this one, and goes so well with the music, and I love her vocals, her vocal style, and it's just like a great, just like it kind of experimental, just straight up like experimental kind of noisy stuff going on here, and I just really like the sounds that it creates, and I love the whole concept of the album that is about the great bailout that happened in like I think 1830 something, 34, 33. It's talking about the in Great Britain after slavery was abolished in Great Britain, how the slave owners, the former slave owners, were compensated for their loss of property, and of course the slaves didn't get in. The freed slaves got nothing, and it just shows just like how just like the fucked up world. And I think it was a great just representation of that, and unique. Like a lot of people, me being in America, mostly talk about American slavery, and it was interesting to see the perspective on the the slavery of the UK, and I just thought it was just executed so well, and got me to learn a few things, and just like she just executed it so well and had a lot of um, great addition to this album, and just really highly recommended. 4. Position Parallel, Aguel de A de Coudre. I probably didn't pronounce that right, but I do know it translates to sewing needle. um, but this is a really fun album here, synth pop album, just like one of the best synth pop albums I've heard in a long time, like the modern synth pop album. It just has so many great sounds on it. I just been like I've been seeing this like tease. I've been seeing it coming out. Not a mainstream artist by any means. Most people probably never even heard of this. But he, the main person in this project, is also part of a project called Dernier Volante, that I got really like interested in the past year or two, and I'd known about Position Parallel, but I'd listened to some of their other albums, but this one just like really clicked with me, and I just really have been enjoying listening to this. It's such a fun album, and just like so many like everything about synth pop that I like is like on this album, and I just really appreciate it. 3. Yeet 2093. This is an album that came out earlier this year, I think back in February, and I was very aware of it when it came out. I was actually pretty excited about it because I had heard, I got into him last year in 2023, when he released his album Afterlife, and that one just like kind of grew on me and grew on me and grew on me, and I'll love it even more now than I did last year, and I still kind of regret not putting it on my list last year. It would have easily made my top 5, but I was just like being a dumbass about it. But I didn't really like 2093 at first, and I kept coming back to it, but it wasn't really clicking with me. And then just like in the past like 2 months, it really clicked with me hard, and I was listening to it almost every single day and just really loving it. And he just like kind of brought over that kind of like psychedelic trap sound that he has, and that I love so much from his last album, and just like put his own kind of little twist on it, like this dystopian kind of concept to it, and just like these interesting kind of more trippy sounds that just like I feel like just go with the album so well. And I just think he really did a good job on this album. And you just kind of looked at it as kind of like a meme artist, kind of to an extent, kind of came up through TikTok and stuff. But I thought he just like did a really good job with this album, and I really like his sounds. I think they're really interesting and cool sounding, and just like he has like some of these like styles of hip hop mixed in that I like grew up listening to like through my middle and high school years, and it just had like a soft spot for me, and just like makes me feel comforted. And this album just brings a great comfort to me, and I really just like it a lot. And I just think he did a really good job, and I think he deserves more credit than he gets, and just like the hip hop and music world in general. 2. MGMT, Loss of Life. So if people who follow my channel know, I made a video earlier this year of my initial thoughts of this project, and I did not really like it at all, to be honest with you. But it is just like something I've come back to throughout the year, and just completely fallen in love with this album. And I get such a great comfort from it now, and MGMT is one of my favorite bands, duos, groups, musical groups ever, and I just fell really hard in love with them years and years ago, and they've been a part of my musical like journey throughout the years, and I just like it just didn't click with me at first, and then I just kept pulling me back, and then it just grew on me so much. I love singing along to it now, and I've loved how this album has really grown on me. It can really just show how albums grow on people, and I just love it. I just love MGMT. I think they're an amazing group. Just like definition of a group not selling out. They did so great on their first album with like these pop singles, and then they just kept doing what they wanted to do, kept doing their own thing, and it's just incredible. It's just like exactly what I love in artists. And the first album in 6 years, I was really anticipating this one, and I'm happy that I've fallen in love with it, and I'm excited for the next album in 6 to 8 years. Number 1, Taylor, wait, hold on a second. Number 1, Katy Perry. Damn it. The fuck. Alright. Alright, for real this time. I'm gonna get it right. Number 1, Charlie XCX, Brat. A lot of people probably knew this was coming. I'm a huge Charlie XCX fan. My favorite pop artist. Said it so many times. When I want to listen to pop music, I want to listen to Charlie, and that's exactly this album. I went to the release show of it. Didn't like love it so much. Like I liked the singles on it. Heard some singles, but I didn't love it like incredibly when I first heard it. It was like in a crowded like record store, and couldn't hear it that well. But then just steadily kept growing on me, and it's just like it's such a Charlie album. It's kind of forgetting back to her roots, like the kind of like dance and like rave stuff that she was mixed in with. How like got her going, honestly, back when she was doing stuff on MySpace and got noticed by a rave artist and started doing raids, DJing raids and stuff. And it's such a Charlie album, and she's very vulnerable in this album, just like, and I really commend her for that. And she just like all the songs are just so good, just all so good. I haven't really been paying too much about like attention to like the deluxe version or just like the actual like remix edition. I think just the original Brat that released was really an incredible album, and one of Charlie's best for sure. Don't know if I'd say it's my favorite by her, but it's just another great Charlie XCX album, and blows Crash out of the park, I'd say, in my opinion. But I'm very excited that this ended up coming out and that she got a lot of traction this year. And this is a very popular opinion. A lot of people have called Brat their number 1 this year, but Brat Summer was a big thing, and she just marketed herself so well, and I feel like she really deserves the recognition for this. Me being a guy that's really into a lot of underground music and just like hesitant towards like big popular stuff, it kind of like hurts me a little bit that she's like gotten so big, but like I'm happy for her, and she deserves it. She's an incredible artist, and deserves way more recognition than any other pop artist in the world right now. And I love Charlie, and nothing's really going to stop me from loving Charlie. So how could she not have my number 1 spot on this list? It was such a great album. And yeah, but that's my number 1. Charlie doesn't always be number 1 in my heart. But that'll kind of ends my list there of the top 24 albums of 2024. I'd like to hear what you guys have to think about my list. I would love to hear what you guys' favorite albums were of the year. And I really appreciate everybody watching this video, and I hope you guys liked it and found some music that maybe you hadn't heard of. I'm always excited to watch it here and listen from other people albums that I didn't get on my radar and I ended up falling in love with. So hopefully I can do that for some people on here as well. Yeah, thanks for watching today, and I'm gonna end my video how I always do. Please support my friends here on the side if you can. Links will be in the description as always. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.